retail trader is looking at that chart, and you're going to buy at a certain level, and you're going to sell at a certain level. They know, they predict what you're going to do, so they do the opposite, because if they don't, they're not going to take your money. So you're bound to lose if you're just relying on technical analysis, on fundamentals, because they know exactly what chart you're looking at. The millions of people looking up and say, oh, I've looked at the charts, I know where it's going to be a sell and a buy. No! Because they know that, they see the same chart. They're not going to give it to you. If they give it to you, if they let you buy it at that level, then they're not going to take your money. They're there to take your money.
Good morning, everybody. Happy weekend. Smash that like button and subscribe for this video today. Let's get right into it. Front running, trading ahead, and the best execution obligation. Front running is a practice in which a dealer executes a trade for itself based upon impending non-public information about a pending customer order. Brokers or dealers that have advanced knowledge of a block transaction in a particular security may improperly benefit from that knowledge by predicting the effect of the transaction on the price of the security.
Let's talk about order competition. The SEC's proposal around retail auctions seems to be generating the most pushback. Joe, how is a retail order executed today, and how would that change under the SEC's proposal?
So right now, the way order routing generally works is market makers like us compete vigorously to try to give the best experience that we can to retail investors and garner more order flow. And what happens is we're not cherry picking orders. We are getting large allocations of orders that we then give a superior experience to in terms of liquidity or price. And what bothers us about the auction proposal is it moves from that model to one where every individual order goes into this central mechanism and then gets competed for individually. And so in that case, there are some orders that will get competition, and there are some orders that won't. Ironically, you could argue that's a good outcome for us because it enables us to cherry pick which orders we want and which we don't. But we would say that is most likely a very negative experience for retail, especially if your order is in that bucket that doesn't get that level of competition.
And I would add to that point, a lot of the gains we've seen with respect to narrower spreads and lower transaction costs in the U.S. equity markets have been the product of vibrant competition among market centers over the past 20 years. And while we can further enhance that, trying to say that a whole category of orders now needs to go through one execution protocol onto a handful of venues, I think will rob us of the benefits of that market center competition, that competition among venues that we've seen emerge over the past 2 decades.
One of the concerns that we and others have raised is if you think about how retail investors transact today, you see a price on the screen, you send in an order, and you get that price or better. And what we worry about in the auction proposal is it introduces a lot of uncertainty and a lack of transparency to the process. It's unclear whether the price that you thought you were going to get when you sent that order in is the price that you're actually going to get. It's like if you go to the supermarket and you go to buy something for $2 and you go to the register and they say, no, it doesn't cost $2, it costs $1.95, or maybe it's $2.05. You just don't know. And that uncertainty and that lack of transparency about price is clearly something that is detrimental to the retail investor experience.
What's your view, Stephen, on what the retail experience looks like under this proposal?
Under this proposal, there would be a slight delay where information about that individual investor's order is broadcast to the entire market in the hopes that then other market participants will show up and compete in an auction for that order. This is going to happen 5 to 10 million times a day. And we're just hoping that there's a bunch of market participants who are all set up to participate in those auctions, and that the information leakage that happens between the time that that order information is broadcast to the whole market and then when the auction actually occurs, that actually ends up being beneficial to the execution of that order. It's much more likely that that information is going to be detrimental to the execution quality that that order ultimately receives.
And the point Stephen made is a really good one. Letting the world know the origination of an order when it goes into this auction is information that is not likely to be used in a positive way by the broader market if made public.
Sounds like someone could front run that order.
That's exactly one of the things that we comment on in our letter.
What surprised you the most as you've read through the various viewpoints here?
One interesting thing that's come out with respect to the auction proposal is that institutional investors it was advertised that they would be beneficiaries, and that this would allow them to interact with retail flow that somehow they are unable to interact with today. And I think we've seen comments from some of the largest mutual funds and pension funds in the country just saying that that's not the case, that the auction mechanism is not well designed for their needs. So, in fact, these proposals, if implemented, would decrease, not increase, the ability for institutional investors to interact with retail flow in the market.
Joe, anything else you'd like to add?
We did take a look at the SEC's analysis where they project a $1.5 billion potential improvement to retail. And there's a lot of flaws underlying the analysis. And when we redo the math and correct for certain errors, we see the $1.5 billion of theoretical gain actually flip to a $2.4 billion actual loss. And that's probably just the starting point for what would happen. So it just illustrates how much unintended consequence we're potentially bringing into the system by these brand new mechanisms.
So are we being altruistic here in advocating for something that might actually...
New mechanisms.
So are we being altruistic here in advocating for something that might actually be better for our bottom line?
I would go back to the earlier point. We think fundamentally a healthy market requires a market that is good for all kinds of investors, institutional, retail, and that becomes the foundation of why the U.S. markets are the envy of the world. So anything that would move the investor experience backwards to us is a very bad step for market structure.